If the attack is found to be a hate crime, then sadly it won't be unique. The latest report from the FBI covering 2015 reveals a huge spike in the number of incidents, with those against Muslims rising most sharply, up by more than 2/3 from the year before. Something the Council on American-Islamic Relations wants to see the man in the White House do more about. Its executive director accuses Donald Trump of provoking bigotry and racism through his quote, numerous statements, policies, and appointments. But is that fair to say? Let's bring in Edward Ahmed Mitchell. He's the director for the U.S. state of Georgia at the Council. Thank you so much for your time, Edward. We've seen a lot of Islamophobic vitriol spewed by various elements during the campaign for president and indeed afterwards, particularly the alt-right group. How concerned are you and the Council right now?
Well, we've seen a sharp increase in both hate speech and hate crimes against American Muslims ever since candidate Trump opened Pandora's box. It's gotten worse and worse every year. The incident in Portland is perhaps the worst thing that we've seen. It's tragic, it's disgusting, but in a way it's also inspiring that two strangers stood up and defended these Muslim women from attack and gave their lives doing so. So what we're seeing is horrible. It seems to be getting worse, but I am heartened by the fact that so many Americans are locking arms with their American Muslim neighbors and defending them, even with their own bodies.
What would you like to see more of from the politicians, the people in power, and average citizens?
Well, look, at this point, I don't really care what President Trump says, but it would be nice if he acted like the president by stepping up and saying that what happened in Portland is evil. It is wrong. President Trump is quick to tweet about Muslim terrorists, but when domestic terrorists acting horribly and in the name of Islamophobia do things, he suddenly falls quiet. So President Trump should step up and say the obvious. This is wrong. It is evil. It is un-American. I don't expect him to do that. He hasn't done it before, but he should. As for the broader American community, we are encouraging American Muslims to make sure they are defending themselves. We held 3 back-to-back self-defense seminars here in the state of Georgia at different houses of worship. Those went very well. And we are encouraging Muslims to engage in interfaith dialogue with their neighbors during this Ramadan. That's the way to solve this in the long term. Let's
talk a little bit about those 2 men who were killed for standing up for at least one woman was wearing a headscarf. Let's talk about them, and what would you like to see coming from the public, and how would you like them to be honored?
Well, yeah, I'm very happy to see that the American Muslim community has already raised almost $200,000 for the families of these men. They're not victims, they are heroes. They died defending 2 innocent women from attack, and we honor them for that. We pray for them. May God have mercy upon them and bless their souls. So I want to see people of all faiths joining together to support the families of these men, and I want to see all people joining together to say that bigotry is wrong. If the president won't step up and say it, that's okay. We can say it. Everyday people can say it. This is wrong, and it has to stop.
It is the month of Ramadan, and there have been terror groups calling for increased attacks during the next month. But what does it mean to people who don't know what Ramadan is? What does it mean to the average Muslim who is peace-loving and who believes that this is an extremely spiritual and family-oriented time?
Well, you just said, I mean, Ramadan is about getting closer to God, receiving God's forgiveness, becoming more charitable, becoming more grateful. That is what American Muslims and Muslims around the world are seeking to do this month. Anti-Muslim bigots and terrorists want to twist and ignore Ramadan and do horrible things during this month, but that's not going to change what American Muslims do. We're going to keep worshiping God. We are going to keep giving charity to our neighbors. We are going to keep being good citizens. That is the best way to celebrate Ramadan. That is the best way to be a Muslim.
Thank you so much for your time. Edward Ahmed Mitchell from the Council of American-Islamic Relations.
Thank you.